journaling has changed my life, and I promise you, it can change yours too. This video is going to be broken down into two parts. The first part is about why I started journaling, and the second is about why I continue to journal. If you're looking for tips on how to journal, then hit the subscribe button down below because I'll be releasing a separate video on that in the future. I'm going to start off with a story. Do you want to know how I broke my very first phone when I was 14? No, it wasn't because it fell out of my pocket when I was running, which is the lie that I told my dad. Sorry, Dad. No, it was because in my anger at getting eliminated during a game of handball, I threw my phone and, unsurprisingly, it smashed. I used to be such an incredibly angry person, and that anger ruled me. Now, I want to read you the very first thing that I ever wrote down in my very first journal back in October 2019. I believe that I can be quite impulsive in my emotions, reactive to certain stimuli, and that I have worsened in this since the end of high school. For example, if someone says something that angers me or raises their voice at me, I will often react, and this is something that I'd like to cease. I want to master my emotions, not to say that I don't want to feel them, but I want to control them and not let them control me. I have said spiteful things in the heat of an argument, and I don't want to be like this. As Felipe Quiepo said at the 10th University Scholars Leadership Symposium, and I'm paraphrasing here, how can one be a global leader or a leader in their community if they can't even be a leader at home? Ever since starting university, I've also noticed that I'm not as happy as I was during school, and that seems to have only worsened this year. Perhaps it is because I have felt considerably more stress this year. Or maybe I'm depressed. But either way, I'd like to better understand what I'm feeling so that I can understand and identify the triggers and manage them. As you can see, the reason that I initially started journaling was to help me with my emotions. I identified that I was a slave to my emotions and I wanted to take back that control. And over the past few years, it has definitely helped me with that. And so now I'm going to talk about some of the other reasons why I continue to journal. So the first reason is related to what I just kind of talked about, which is better emotional regulation, and I just want to elaborate on that a little. I've come a long way in the past couple of years, and I'm better able to identify the emotions that I'm feeling and their root trigger. My goal is not necessarily to eliminate all quote-unquote negative emotions. Like, for example, if someone dies, it's natural to feel sad, and that's an important part of the human condition. No, my goal is to program myself to subconsciously recognize that between every event and emotion, there is this moment. And in that moment, there is a story that I've told myself that is responsible for converting this objective event into something subjective. As Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. The event itself is objective. It simply happened, but we process the event through a lens shaped by our values, our beliefs, and expectations, and in doing so, we turn it into something subjective, whether that's good or bad. By developing this subconscious thought process, I'll better be able to identify what story I'm telling myself and deconstruct it and change it into one that's more objective. Now, I'm by no means an expert at this. In fact, I'd very much say that I'm still a work in progress. And in the heat of the moment, though I'm better able to control my emotions, I still often feel those negative emotions, and it's not until I get to my journal and replay the situation in my head where I'm able to identify the story that I told myself at the time. And this is actually the core paradigm behind how cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, works. By recognizing that our thoughts manifest internally in our body as feelings, which manifest externally in our world as behaviors, we can see how changing our thoughts can result in us feeling better and acting more rationally. The second reason why I journal is simply to document life events. In creating this video, I've read through some of my early journals for the first time in years, and it's amazing to see what I was doing and what I was thinking when I was younger. These pages are really the only thing that I have depicting what was going on in my mind in the past, and that's really just such a priceless possession. The third reason is for mental clarity. As Naval says, our mind is like a monkey flinging feces, running around the room, making trouble, shouting and breaking things. With so much going on up there, I can find that it gets quite overwhelming. And I think that's probably a major reason why we consume so much social media and watch so much Netflix. The stimulation functions to dampen down your mind and reduce that feeling of overwhelm. Journaling provides me with an alternate way of getting rid of that mental clutter out of my body and into the outside world. And in doing so, it helps me free up the cognitive bandwidth to allow me to focus on the things that I actually want to. The fourth reason is that journaling allows me to make my thoughts and ideas more concrete, which helps me reach an internal consensus on something that I've been pondering over. A good example of this is my current thoughts on what I want my career to look like. Ever since I was first exposed to the possibility of entrepreneurship as a career pathway, it has been like a mind virus that has infected my daily thoughts. And then COVID arrived and I had some time to step back from my day-to-day studying for med school and attending placement and reflect on the trajectory of my life. And I realized that whilst medicine is something that I enjoy, it has its negatives too, and nothing is really that fun when you do it full time. So working as a doctor is something that I likely only want to do part-time in the future. And since then, I've been regularly coming back to this question of what I want my career to look like. And it's only through this regular reflection that I have a more concrete idea of what I want to do in the future. And I know this will likely change a massive amount over the next few years as I continue to revisit these thoughts. But without journaling, it just would be an internal mess of fragmented thoughts, and I would be no closer to an answer. So, as you can see, journaling has made me a more emotionally intelligent person with better emotional regulation. It has helped me document and remember my life. It has improved my mental clarity. And finally, it has helped me become a better thinker and make more rational decisions. Journaling has changed my life, and I promise you, it can change yours too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.